All right, before we deploy our website, we need to prepare it for production. This is where we use a build tool. Using a build tool, we can combine multiple JavaScript or CSS files, so we can reduce the number of HTTP requests sent from the browser to the server. Using build tools, we can also minify our JavaScript and CSS files, so we can remove all the extra spaces, comments, and unnecessary characters. With this, we can reduce the size of our assets and deliver smaller files to the user. Using build tools, we can also optimize our images. So far, we have been doing this manually in Photoshop and Cloud Convert, but there are command line tools we can bring as part of our build process. Now, depending on your project and its complexity, there are many other things you may want to do as part of your build process, okay? Now, what tools should we use? Well, there are so many tools out there. The most popular one is Webpack, but the problem with Webpack is that it requires a lot of configuration. It's not something that a lot of beginners are comfortable with. We also have Rollup, which I used years ago. I don't really have an opinion about it. Recently, I've been playing with Parcel and I absolutely love it. As you can see on their website, Parcel is a blazing fast, zero configuration web application bundler. So it's perfect for beginners who don't want to do a lot of configuration. That's why in this course, I'm going to show you how to use Parcel to build our website. Now, to use Parcel, first you need to install Node on your machine. So if you don't have Node, head over to nodejs.org and download and install the latest version. It's very easy and it's going to take only a few seconds. All right, now back to VS Code. On the top, we're going to go to View and then Terminal. Look at the shortcut. On Mac is Control and Backtick. So here's a terminal window. In this terminal window, we can execute commands. The first command we're going to execute is to see if you have installed Node properly. So we type node-v. So on this machine, I'm using Node version 12.14.1. Okay. Now to clear the window, we press Ctrl and L. Good. Now, Node comes with a tool called npm, which is short for Node Package Manager. With this tool, we can install third-party libraries, also called third-party dependencies. Now, before we can use npm, first we need to initialize an npm package in this directory. So we type npm init-y. If you don't supply the y option, npm is going to ask you a bunch of questions about your project, like its name, its version, its author, and so on. Using the y option, we can skip this step. Okay, good. Now back in the Explorer panel, we have a new file called package.json. Let's open this. And of course, we should close the terminal window so we can see it. In this file, we have information about our project. So we can see its name, its version, its description, and so on. Now, soon we're going to install Parcel as a third-party dependency. Once we do that, you will see Parcel and its version listed in this file as well. Okay. So back to the terminal window. Let's clear the window. Now to install Parcel, we're going to type npm I, that is short for install, -D. Make sure to use a capital, otherwise the meaning of this option is going to be different. And then we type the name of the package or library, Parcel-bundler. Make sure to spell it properly. Okay. Let's go with that. Now this is going to take a few seconds, so I'm going to pause the recording. All right, Parcel is installed. Now, whenever you install a package using npm, often you see a bunch of warnings. Don't worry about them. They're pretty typical. So let's close this terminal window. Now back to package.json. Look over here. Under dev dependencies, we have Parcel with this version. So earlier when we used npm, we installed this package using the D option. D is short for development dependency. So we're going to use this as part of our development, but we're not going to deploy this to production. In other words, this is not a library we want to ship with our website. Okay. So here's the version I'm using. Now, sometimes there are breaking changes between different versions of these libraries. So if you want to follow along with me, I would highly encourage you to use the exact same version. To do that, you need to open up the terminal window and install Parcel like this. So once again, we type npm I-D Parcel-bundler, but at the end, we append an @ and specify the version. The version I'm using is 1.12.4. So now using this command, you can install the exact same version. Okay. So we're done here. Now, back to our project. We have a new folder called Node Modules. Whenever we install a library using npm, it ends up getting stored here. Now take a look. In this folder, we have tens or even hundreds of folders. One of these is Parcel. Let me find it for you. All right, look, here's Parcel-bundler. So this is where this library is stored. Now, Parcel is dependent on a bunch of other libraries, which could be dependent on other libraries. That is why we have tens or hundreds of folders inside this Node Modules folder. All of these folders are third-party libraries, okay? Now, we don't want to include these files in our source control repository. We don't want to include them in our Git repository because, first of all, this is going to increase the size of our repository, but also this step is unnecessary. Back to package.json. In this file, we can see all of our third-party dependencies and their version. So using this file and npm, we can always restore these dependencies. There is no need to include this large folder in our repository, okay? Now, to exclude this from our repository, we have to create a special file called gitignore. So in the root of the project, we create a new file and call it .gitignore. So the file doesn't have any name, it's just an extension. Now, in this file, we can list the files or folders that we want Git to ignore. So we're going to write node_modules followed by a /. Good. Now, if you go to the source control panel, we only see package.json. None of the files and folders in Node Modules are listed here, okay? So we're done with this step. Now the fun part. Once again, we're going to open up the terminal window and use Parcel to launch our website. So here we type node_modules. We're going to go to this folder. Then we go to a folder called .bin. This is where the binary or executable files of third-party libraries are installed. So we go to bin and then load Parcel. And as an argument, we type index.html. Now, we don't want to type this every time we want to launch our website. This is very long. So let me show you a better way. Let's delete this command. We're going to install Parcel globally so we can call it from any folder on this machine. To do that, we're going to run npm i-g, that is short for global, and then parcel-bundler. Now, if you're on Mac or Linux, you might get a permission error. If that happens, you need to prefix this command with sudo, okay? So we execute this command. Here we have to enter our computer's password. All right, Parcel is installed globally. So now we can call it from any folder on this machine. We can simply type Parcel. We don't have to go to nodemodules.bin, okay? So we type Parcel and then index.html. Let's see what happens. So Parcel comes with its own development server that is currently running at localhost port 1234. So we can control click here or command click. All right, here's our website, but this website is now hosted by Parcel's built-in development server. So it's not live server. So that means if you want to use Parcel, you're not going to go to index.html, right click, and then open this with live server. Instead, you have to go to the terminal window and type Parcel index.html. Okay. So now we have a development server. This development server also comes with live reloading. So if you make any changes to any of our files, Parcel is going to automatically build and reload our website. Now, back to the Explorer panel, we have two new folders here, .cache and dist. These folders are automatically created by Parcel as part of building our website. Once again, we don't want to include these folders in our Git repository. So we go to gitignore and list these folders here. So dist and .cache. Good. So now with Parcel's development server, we keep working on our website. When we are done, we want to build it for production. So back to the terminal window. To stop this process, we press Ctrl and C. Good. Now to build for production, we type Parcel build index.html. Now here we get this error saying error in parsing SVG, unbound namespace prefix xlength. So Parcel doesn't understand xlength in index.html. So let's bring up index.html and search for xlength. We have used this as a prefix for the href attribute of the use element. Now this prefix is considered deprecated, but the tool that we use for generating a sprite added this for backward compatibility. If you want to use Parcel, you have to remove this prefix. So we're going to go to Edit and Replace. Anywhere in this file we have xlength : we're going to replace it with nothing. Okay. So now let's replace all of these instances. Good. Save the changes. So we have use href. Pretty simple. Now, back to the terminal window. Once again, parcel build index.html. All right, now Parcel has built our website. All the assets, including HTML files, images, CSS files, and so on, are stored in the dist or distributable folder. Now let's open a couple of these assets to see what Parcel has done for us. So I'm going to close this. Here in the dist folder, let's search for index.html. Take a look. So Parcel has removed all the space between these elements, and now we have one long, gigantic string. Obviously, this is not readable for us humans, but we want to feed this to computers. So why should we care about proper formatting? This is minification in action. So Parcel has minified this file. Now, similarly, let's look at another file like styles.css. Look, this is our CSS file minified. All the spaces, all the formatting, all the comments are removed, and now we have a really long string. Now, back to the dist folder. If you pay close attention, you will see we have multiple instances of this file. So here's the version that I just opened. Now, in this version, we have this unique sequence of characters like 3D, 3.1, and so on. These characters uniquely identify this asset. This is used to prevent caching. So if you serve a file like styles.css to the user, and then make a change to that file, sometimes browsers cache that asset, so the end user is not going to get our changes. This is why we use a unique hash in the file name. Now here we have another version with a different hash. This is the version that was generated when we did a development build. So whether we are in the development or production mode, all these files are stored in the dist folder. Now we can safely go and delete this entire folder. Then we can open up another terminal window and type parcel build index.html. Good. Now back to the dist folder. Now we only have a single version of these files, okay? So we're done with this step. Now we should go to the source control panel and make a commit. Here we're going to say add parcel for building. All right, great. Next, we're going to talk about pushing our code to GitHub.